Hello, good evening and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with Martin for the Lions Raw full match reaction show. And again, we are reacting to a fantastic 3 points. 3-1 against Fulham in what was billed as a really tough game, and it was a very good game. Both teams put their all into it. Both teams were very attacking, but Aston Villa came up with the moments, the key moments when it mattered, and got the result. We're going to get fully into it. We're going to talk performances, big performances, and potentially one or two slight concerns, but this is what the full match reaction show is all about. So make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Get your comments in, your thoughts on what we're going to talk about tonight. And then also Champions League is back on Tuesday. So we will focus a little bit on that Bologna game as well. First of all though, Martin, great to have you back on the pod. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing good. It was a bit of a nervy affair yesterday, I felt, in the first half of the Fulham game. It was probably one game I was worried about coming into the few weeks, as you know, Fulham are on a good run of form, even though they did lose to Man City before the international break, but they still put in a good performance. So I felt that they would have bounced back from that. But it is what it is. We got 3 points on the board, so I'm happy and a good weekend.
Exactly. And yeah, we were talking all last week about kind of this big period, 7 games in 21 days for Villa, and to get off to a good start in this game with 3 points against Fulham does set us up nicely for, you know, what is, as I've just said, a big period and a key time in the season.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because we have the Champions League game, we've got the game then against Crystal Palace in the Cup, and then of course we have our Premier League games coming up as well. You know, so it's going to be a gruesome period, but you know, I think with the squad depth that we have, and you know, now it's a full squad, thank God, which we've all been cheering for. So I think we're going to adapt really well to it. You know, because after the game against Bologna, we have Bournemouth, then we've Crystal Palace, and then our next 2 games then in the league after that is Tottenham and Liverpool, and they're 2 games that, you know, if you can get 4 points on the board, you'll be happy.
Absolutely. Now, I've put everyone's comments on. Thank you very much. Hi everyone. Great to have you in the chat. Michael has stolen your thunder a little bit, because one of the pictures that you've put on is a certain strong squad, and Michael is right. Our strength is our bench. Just show us the picture that you've got, Martin, of our new look bench, because it is absolutely flying at the moment and is extremely strong. So yeah, pull that picture up, mate, because it brought a smile to my face as well.
Yeah, you know, our bench is looking absolutely ridiculous. This is stacked. Like, look at this bench for Aston Villa. Like, that is stacked. Like, that team there alone can just go onto a pitch and win a game for us. It's absolutely stacked, that bench. You know, it's probably one of the best benches I've seen in the league for a long time for Aston Villa, never mind any club. So I've really enjoyed when the press was done by Emery, and then all of a sudden, you know, the bench comes out for the game against Fulham, and I'm just thinking to myself, Jesus, we're like prime Brazil in 2002.
Exactly, absolutely. You know, bring Rivaldo on, bring Ronaldinho, and we'll take them all on. But moving into the game, I don't want to talk kind of going through everything in terms of minute by minute. What I want to do on our Lions Raw, you know, if you want to see the match reaction, I did that yesterday and just went through the game. Obviously, very eventful game, but I just wanted to shout out a few performances, and also, I guess, one or two kind of maybe slight concerns, maybe looking at January ahead, and is that a time to maybe look to strengthen depending on where we are in the season. But first of all, what I wanted to talk about was this trio of Watkins, Rodgers, and Ramsey, because I was so encouraged yesterday to see some flowing football. Ramsey getting on the outside, cutting the ball back. Rodgers arriving in the box. Rodgers beating his man, playing the ball through to Ollie Watkins. He sees the run. Watkins finishing chances or getting on the end of chances. This trio, is one of the most exciting in the league at the moment. And if they can stay fit and firing, this could be really scary for us and for any team that they come up against.
Absolutely, because when was the last time Villa have probably had a front three that has been so exciting to watch? Like obviously in the years before of a Bon Lahore, Ashley Young, and John Carew, that brings back memories for a lot of Villa fans. But this front three here, the numbers are looking really good now because Rodgers was complaining about his numbers, even though he was putting in great performances. He was on about his numbers, and guess what? In the last 3 games now, he's got himself 2 goals and a couple of assists. So he's flying. Ramsey's looking good on that left side when him and Rodgers just combine so well with each other. And I think in a way, Rodgers and Ramsey, they really complement each other. They're both ball carriers. They both release the ball in good times and draw fouls and really crucial areas. So if you've got 2 players like that, it really helps. And then you've got a clinical finisher in Ollie Watkins. And now I know this fan base is kind of divided with Ollie Watkins, and still to this day, people are still divided about Ollie Watkins. But someone had said that, we are probably a clinical striker away or a right back and a centre back away from being in a title race, some would say, right? But I feel like Ollie Watkins is a clinical striker because when he said we're a clinical striker away from doing such and such, Ollie Watkins 2 minutes later actually scored a typical centre forward's header, just changing the direction of the ball, and Leno was completely oblivious to what had happened. Ollie Watkins for me is, in my opinion, a clinical striker. Yes, does he miss big chances? Of course he missed big chances. Every clinical striker missed big chances, but he's in the position to get them big chances. And the work rate that he does off the ball and hassles defenders, that's exactly what you want. Right, fair enough. Is he a 20-goal Premier League striker? I believe he can be. He was very close to it last season. And he kind of got 20 goals, but he was ruled offside in the one game. So it was kind of taken away from him. But I feel like a lot of people, I know there's this divide, but I think a lot of people need to get on Ollie back some more, but in a positive manner. Because I believe that if we have Rodgers, Ramsey completely fit, Ollie Watkins, in my opinion, will get 20 plus goals in the league.
Yeah. No, I have you right. I've got a couple of points to make on that. I just want to get into some comments first. Weston says the way Rodgers takes the ball into his stride and on the turn all at the same time is almost poetic. Kevin says we are in second gear, guys. It's frightening. Gary said they're all English as well, which is another thing, which is brilliant. And Morgan really needs to get his finishing boots on, though. Yeah, he does. He's working on it. As Michael said, they just need to work on the finishing, and something that maybe Ramsey could do a little bit as well once he gets fitter. And where else have we got? Adamski says, I like how we can go quick and direct through the middle into the final third as well, going outside and cutting in. Don't see it from any side. Yeah, 100%. Watkins is class, said Michael. PJJ said, anyone still undecided about Ollie hasn't got a clue. Watkins should hit 20 easily this season. And Sai said he's only 9 behind Gabby now, which is brilliant. Greetings to you, Alex from Miami, Nottingham. Yes, good man. TK says, we have an unbelievable squad now. Yeah, hopefully you saw our picture of the bench. But yeah, the couple of points I wanted to make on Watkins are, he is 1 goal at this stage of the season, 1 goal better off in the Premier League's side terms in terms of goals than he was at this stage last season. So he's got 5 goals at the moment. He had 4 last season, so that would suggest he's on route to 20 this season. Sayo also said, he's only 9 or 10, I think, away from Gabby Agbonlahore's record, which is just fantastic. 9 away from equaling it, 10 away from beating it. Yeah. And also, I don't know if you saw the Wolves-Man City game, but Erling Haaland is a fantastic goal scorer. Put him in front of goal, he puts chances away. But I watched all that game, and I think I could count on one hand the number of touches that Erling Haaland had in that game. Now, if you're asking me what striker I would want at the minute in terms
Mm.
of all-round game in the Premier League, I think I would take Ollie Watkins. Because Haaland was absolutely anonymous in that game. He did
Mm.
absolutely nothing. Now, granted, Wolves defend very deep. There's not much space. I don't see him getting involved in the game. I don't see him dropping into spaces. I don't see him coming to
Mm.
receive the ball and then try and pull defenders out. All I see is him just standing in certain spaces, moving to one side, moving to the other side, and then hoping for a little ball that comes into the box, or a little break, or a little break in the box to finish it. To me, I mean, like the work that Watkins puts in, the headache he gives defenders. You would see the movement now between him and Ramsey and Rodgers. I don't know if I would have anyone else other than Ollie Watkins up front in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, and I'd 100% agree. Like, I think we can all agree at the fact that Haaland is undisputably the best striker in the Premier League, right? There's absolutely no dispute with that. But when you talk about the all-round game between the two strikers, 100% I'm taking Ollie Watkins all day long. Like, Emil Heskey was there in an interview, and he said the best striker behind Erling Haaland is Ollie Watkins. There's no one else, because for me, Ollie has elevated his game ever since Emery's come in, and this is the old cliche, of course, that we're saying that ever since Emery's come in, players have gotten better, and of course they have. Look what we've done. We've got to the Conference League, we've gone to the Champions League, we've beaten Bayern Munich 1-0. We bet young boys, away from home. Granted, I know they're probably not the best example to use, but they've still had Champions League experience for the last
Yeah,
few
mate.
years now,
Fair
and to go
comment.
and beat, and to go and beat them 3-0 away from home in that drastic AstroTurf pitch, which can have a really bad impact on players' ankles and knees at that level. And we've gone and thumped them 3-0 and a clean sheet, and you don't have to play them again. It's a great thing. But getting back onto Ollie Watkins here, I think if Erling Haaland wasn't in the Premier League, Ollie Watkins is the best striker, and he'd be so high in demand of what people would want from him. My only fear that is Ollie gets injured, but Ollie has shown he doesn't really get injured. Like his endurance, his availability in the last few years. I only think he got an injury last season, but he was only really out for 2 to 3 weeks. That was it. So that kind of goes to show that if he gets an injury, he's only injured for such a short period of time. And I think this year, I believe he'll hit 20 because there's someone there knocking on the door at this minute. So he's being kept on his toes, and you need that as a striker. You need someone who's behind you going, like, he's scoring goals, that's fine, but I'm still going to score my goals and keep you sitting there. That's the healthy competition you want. It's not a toxic thing. You don't see any dispute between the two of them. That being John Duran, of course, I didn't say his name, but Ollie Watkins and Erling Haaland, they're two very different players. Like, for me,
Yes,
Erling
of course.
Haaland is a sitter and he waits for the ball to come. And that's not a bad thing, because you look at the people that are serving him. It's an incredible line of players. You've got De Bruyne. I know he's injured. He's lining them up. Bernardo Silva, Grealish, Doku, Foden. Like, just them players alone feeding him, he's getting goals like from everywhere. But when he doesn't get the service, he doesn't create his own goals. I've never actually seen Haaland pick up the ball in the Premier League and have a go at a defender and beat him one-on-one and get different types of goals. The only goals I really see Alan take is tap-ins, or it kind of comes from a back post cross or a drag back. They're the type of goals I've only really seen Haaland score in this league, or a header. But Ollie Watkins is scoring all types of goals, beating defenders one-on-one, getting headers, right foot, left foot. He's scoring all types of goals, and that's what you want from a striker, is scoring all types of goals and making it hard for himself and doing all this work rate as well on top of that. I'm taking Ollie Watkins all day long. I'd even say right now I'm taking Watkins over Haaland. And that's something maybe a lot of fans might say, oh, no, I'll still take Erling Haaland. You can take Erling Haaland all you want, but if you want someone to do the defensive side of things, you might have to put Haaland in the bin.
Yeah. Reese says Watkins' all-round game is better than every striker in the league, but he's second best finisher because of that Viking at City. Yeah, 100%, mate. I do agree. Where have we got? Weston says, I totally agree, Rich. The kind of striker Haaland is suits Man City, but he wouldn't suit Villa. Ant says we need to manage Ollie's time so he doesn't get injured or burnt out. Duran can start some, maybe the cup games. And I absolutely agree with that. And I think yesterday highlighted that Emery's got that bit more confidence to bring Duran on and give Watkins sort of 15, 20 minutes rest, which is maybe what he wasn't doing last season. So that's where we get that kind of win, and maybe we get a better Ollie Watkins towards the end of the season. The Villa fan said, I agree. For as great as Haaland is, he can be very inconsistent, and we saw that a lot last season. Watkins would always be involved, even make an assist instead of scoring. Alex says 84 watching on YouTube. We've got nearly 200 watching across both platforms, which is phenomenal. Make sure you smash that like button, people. I think we might be over a 35 likes now, but if we could hit 100 likes on YouTube, that would be amazing. Where have we got? Reese said, genuinely the best Villa team I've ever seen. So glad we can all witness the greatness. Setterstein said, we're clinical beyond belief at the moment. Sai says, as you said, Martin, Haaland is what we call a goal hanger. And yeah, 100%. Yeah. Michael said Watkins and Duran is a perfect mix as both have different aspects to their game. So yeah, it's just such an exciting time. And Gary said you've been on the whiskey. Haaland gets in any team. But
we're sorry to tell you, Gary, I'm not in the attic this time. There's no whiskey here behind me. It's just a big wall, so I'm sober-ish, but I'm sober.
Yeah, good. Well, yeah, that's good to know, mate. But there's just those three, very, very exciting. And I was watching the game with my dad because he was up for my daughter's birthday that we had this weekend, and we were just saying, those three, when Ramsey can take it round the outside of players, and he's cutting it back, that's something different that we don't see. Rodgers has obviously got that strength, that power running with the ball, that kind of directness, the skill to beat players. And if he can add the finish into his game as well, that makes it even better. And then you've got Watkins, as you say, that all-round game, giving defenders a headache, the speed endurance, the ability to kind of peel off the defender in 68, 70th minute, which obviously manages to get a player sent off. The way he scores headers, the way he can do that step over and whip the ball into the bottom corner. He's just really, really, just scoring goals. Like, it's not even a lot of people are talking about him. He's just scoring goals, and that's what we want to see. What's this? Yeah. Si's mentioned this. 67:09. Diop comes on. It's a Fulham goal kick. 67:50. Leno takes the goal kick. So really, the ball's only in play with Diop on 68:32. He planted it past Leno. So within 42 seconds, Diop scored an own goal. Yeah, I think that's a nightmare introduction, to be honest.
Brilliant.
But yeah.
I was just going to bring something here up on Ramsey. I've actually been surprised by Ramsey this season. Because obviously last season he had that, reoccurring injury with his foot that was kind of hampering him a little bit. It stalled the progression of what he probably should have been. And yes, he came back fully fit in the summer. And I was kind of worried for him because, with confidence and, players kind of hold back after having injuries like that. And it plays in that psychological mindset of, I can't really put in 100% or I have to be a little bit nicer now because, he's had that injury in his foot. But he's taken everything now by stride. He's not afraid to go on defenders. We're seeing the Ramsey of old. And there's so much now maturity this year, I think, to his game compared to years previous. He's releasing it now at the right times. He's linking well with Rodgers, like we've mentioned. So it seems like the team that's around him, he's maturing with that team because he knows now what he can do. And I'm not saying that he didn't know what he was doing with, the years previous of him coming through the ranks. But he was the go-to man for a good while when Grealish had left. He was the go-to man. And I wouldn't say there was all the pressure on him, per se, because obviously you had Watkins, you had McGinn, you had other players. But Ramsey, for me, he's one of our own. and I love him to bits. And felt really bad for him in the sense of when he got that injury, and it just halted him so much. And this year, I was worried: was he gonna replicate what he had done years previous? Because, like I said, injuries place such a psychological mindset on players, and you've seen players not come back the same player and deteriorate. And I'm glad now that he's put himself in a position that he's the top man and he's starting every week. Because if you
Well,
if you take him away and he drops form, you've got Buendia, you've got
well,
Philogene
that's it.
Babis, you've
That's
got
it. You've got what
different
McGinn.
players
McGinn's
now.
got to find his way back in.
Exactly,
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
got
yeah, yeah.
McGinn's got to find his way back in. There's players there now that they're all being on their toes, and you need a big squad. And I've said it for years. I've said obviously the Villa of old has 11 players and then two on the bench, and the rest is kind of feeding scraps. We saw the bench there this weekend, and we were all saying it's a full squad, and we were just licking our lips at the bench. Like, it was just incredible. The options, the people that we probably that didn't even play, and you're going, wow. And it's great for a Villa fan, and of course it's going to be frustrating for players that they didn't play the games that they want to play. But they'll remember that this is a squad game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key for Ramsey is to keep himself fit and keep that consistency. But I make you dead right. Now, I want to pull up this comment that Adamski said, because this takes us into our next little point. He says he really wants to see Ramsey on the score sheet, which I think we all do. But I think Bailey needs it more. Now, this takes me to my maybe slight concern around our right-hand side. And I don't want to be too negative or anything like that, but this is our full match reaction. So we do go into a few pointers around the game. And that right-hand side, Matty Cash, Leon Bailey, is it a frustration thing? Is it a potential playing with injury? Is it trying to find your way back into form? Does Bailey just need a goal? Is it like that link-up thing? I think someone in the comments said Dini and Ramsey are playing like the Dini and Ramsey of old, so maybe is it just need a few more games with Cash and Bailey to kind of get firing again? But something isn't quite right on that with that right-hand side, and teams will start targeting it, and it's not just out of possession they seem a bit disjointed, it's also in possession they seem a little bit disjointed. Like, it doesn't seem to be flowing as much with Matty Cash driving forward. Doesn't seem to be flowing as much with Leon Bailey with what he wants to do. I don't know.
Are we back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, yeah. I don't know whether that was me or if that was you. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't know whether it seems a bit disjointed. I don't know whether it's quite in possession of the ball with or out of possession, but when Cash is driving forward, he doesn't seem to be knowing exactly what to do with the ball. And when Bailey's got the ball, he doesn't know whether to take it on the outside, doesn't know whether to cut in on the inside, and he just seems a little bit disjointed at the moment.
Yeah, I think with that side at this minute, I mean, a lot of people really like Ezri Konsa at right back, but I prefer Konsa in centre half. But going back now to Cash and Bailey, I think Cash, in my opinion, is a very good right back. I really do. Of course, he makes his mistakes, but we kind of have to remember he's had this reoccurring hamstring injury. And I feel like when he's not starting, you kind of see where we slip up a little bit. But yes, I do get the point that we do need a better right back than Matty Cash. But for me, like, who do you go and get? Because of course, we've got Nadal Djokovic there, but he's still young. You've got Bogart that can do a job. Again, he's still young. So it's not really, in my opinion, a department in a right back list to go and get. That's the way I see it at this current time. In terms of Bailey, I think that Bailey's problem is, and it's a psychological thing, he's no competition. I think there's a complacency around Bailey at this minute. Because if you look at last season when we signed Diaby, a record signing at the time, Bailey was playing out of his skin because he knew damn well that there's someone there next to him that can take his spot. And when a player has that healthy competition, he will want to play out of his skin to make sure he doesn't take me spot, regardless of whether he's the record signing or not. Because players psychologically think if I'm the record signing, I'm playing, that's it. Because that does play in players' head. But for Bailey, he was playing out of his skin. He was beating players. He wasn't really carrying any injuries, wasn't carrying any knocks. With this year, he is carrying a bit of knock, in certain games, or he's not himself. I think it's a complacency thing for me because if he doesn't have a competition, yes, Philogene Bidace has put in some brilliant performances, but we have to remember that Philogene Bidace is going to take time to mold himself into this team. Ramsey's done it. The Grealishes have done it. All these players have done it. They have to mold their time into this team. And of course, there's this talk of Mbeumo, who is supposedly being linked to Aston Villa by Graham Bailey. And of course, you're probably going to touch on that as well. But I'm not saying Mbeumo is going to do Villa. But if there's this chance he does, do we get the Bailey that will play out of his skin, like that signing of a Diaby? Or does Bailey fold at that fact and still be complacent thinking Mbeumo's not as good as Diaby? It's just in that player's head. I'm not saying that he isn't. And then he gets complacent all of a sudden, Mbeumo is miles ahead of Bailey. And then we're looking at this scenario of, a bit like Alex Moreno when he was top notch, and then Luca Digne took his chance completely over Alex Moreno, and then we brought in a new left back, and then Moreno was gone. So this would feel like that normal situation because, like I said, I think it's complacency with Bailey. And when players are complacent and starting in the week in and week out, they don't perform that well, and fans are getting your back then. And us Villa fans, we're not afraid to get on the players' back.
No. I'll get to some comments in a second. It seems like he's getting a bit frustrated with himself. You could see him yesterday getting a bit frustrated with the referee. There was a couple of moments in the first half where he did some really nice things, and it's like his touch isn't. He's a player who has to flow. He's a player who has to kind of feel like the ball is a part of his extension to his body, and because a lot of the time he drags the ball with him as he's running, but yesterday it seemed to be caught under his feet a little bit, and he just wasn't quite getting the step overs right, and his timing just doesn't quite seem there. Now whether it's like you say he's carrying a bit of a knock, he's not 100% fit, I don't know, but for some reason Emery's continuing to play him, and Emery's saying that he is fit. So is it in his head? Is he trying to play him through the pain barrier, trying to play him to fitness? Or is he actually carrying an injury, which I don't know why you would continue to play someone. That's what worries me. But just getting into some of the comments, Adamski said, Bailey needs a shot, a miss, then a good cry and he'll be okay.
Tough love, Adamski.
Yeah. Aurelio Gomez says, Bailey's a basket case at the moment. Seta Stain says, what is up with Leon Bailey at the moment? And Gary agrees with you, said he's been poor without Diaby being there, which is a bit weird. TK says Bailey didn't seem fit yesterday and his confidence is low. PJJ said Bailey's recovering and finding form, but him and Kashi never seem to click for me. Michaels isn't frustrated with the right-hand side. We must realise that we're still building, but I think Bailey needs a rest and is low on confidence. Gary said Bailey's dropping as soon as Philogene is back. Stated Cash was fine. It's not that I don't think. I think in certain 1v1s, I think he's good. I think he's wholehearted. I just felt like when he was driving forward with the ball, he seems to cut back and then play the cutback pass behind the net, behind the player he's passing it to, or it's bobbling. He could just go round the outside and just drive it across the box. He's good enough to do it. I don't understand why he doesn't do it. That's just my 2 pence on it. James said Matty Cash is getting up to speed after his injury. Jim said form is temporary, class is permanent. Bailey will come good. Cash, I have a feeling, is at his limit, hence why we're trying to buy the Dutch right back in the summer. Seta Stain, I feel like with Bailey, give him 6 month rest and no different. Yeah, that's why I think he just needs to keep playing. Aaron's in the chat. Long time no see, boys. Yes, Pau Torres does need a pure gym membership. Absolutely. Michelle doesn't necessarily think it's complacency. He has injuries and does look to be lacking confidence. He is fully fit, says Gary. Otherwise, he wouldn't start. He's gone back to being complacent as before. Lee says when Bailey is bad, he is really bad. I'm starting to get a little bit fed up. Whether it's injuries or mental, he can't be counted on. Stephen says, good point about Bailey. Digne is exactly the example with Maatsen there. Yeah, you're right, Martin. He just lost his mojo, says PJJ. So yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Adam said he's carrying the knock in his head, and lots of people saying it's just confidence. So I do think he comes back, and I do think that's something. We know there's class there. We know there's a player there, and I'm sure he'll have his moments. Maybe he just needs a goal. Maybe he just needs to cut inside and bend one in the top corner. But it just, we hope to get that. And like you say, I think with Matty Cash, I think we just have to accept that he is that wholehearted 100% right back, that maybe he's going to make the odd mistake, but maybe having a higher quality right back or a different type of right back, maybe signing in January, will take that squad on maybe to the next level, Martin.
Yeah. You do need that. You need someone that's going to come in and take it to the next level. And I feel like we probably are a right-sided winger away from that. And now, I know people will say Bailey is still the undisputed winger for Villa at this minute in time, but he doesn't have competition. And that's just plain and simple. He doesn't have competition. Now, I know people will say Billie Bidays, but like I've said, he has to bide his time. He's still a young man. They all do it. So we're going to naturally, I think, with this talks of Mbeumo at this moment, if we bring him in, I think he can kind of sort that problem on that right side at this current time. But if Bailey picks up that little bit of form before coming into January, then maybe Mbeumo might not even come in the door, or he probably still does to keep Bailey on his toes. But I don't want to be signing a winger, and this is all due respect to all the wingers, whoever that we sign, I think of Leon Bailey gets playing again. I don't want that. I want someone to come in that's, yes, going to have a healthy competition with Bailey, and that's not a problem. But I want to kind of see somebody come in that can tip Bailey, someone that little bit better, And that's not a disrespect to Bailey either. He has been a smashing player for Aston Villa, and I do believe there's still a player there. But if Bailey is showing this level at this current time, constant, as this season goes out, football's a cruel business. He's just going to get someone else in to do the job for him. And that's just the way you have to look at it. We can have all these emotional attachment to players. I was mostly attached to Marvelous Nakamba. Look what happened to him, right? Max was mostly attached to Leon Dendoncker. Look what happened to him. This is what happens to fans when we're mostly attached to players. And some people are going to have that emotional attachment to Bailey. But at the end of the day, football is such a cruel business. So like I said, I don't want to be signing a winger just for the sake that means Leon Bailey is going to perform week in, week out and play out of his skin, only for us to sell that winger, and then we get that complacent Bailey again. I don't want that. I want someone who's going to stay in the long term, believe in the project of Aston Villa, and believe in himself to take Bailey off that spot. But then I do, at the same time, want Bailey to make sure that he is going to be the man to be in that starting 11. But I don't want to sign someone just for the sake of that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now we talk about that right hand side, and just in terms of Matty Cash, our friends at Football Prizes have a special prize at the moment, and there are only 29 tickets available for this signed Matty Cash 24-25 Aston Villa shirt. The tickets do cost $9.95, but as I say, you have a fantastic chance of winning that prize. You've got just under 4 days to enter. Go to footballprizes.co.uk, search for the Aston Villa prize, purchase your ticket, and you could potentially win the signed Matty Cash Aston Villa 24-25 shirt. And 20% of the proceeds, I believe, in October go to support Young at Heart, which supports families of children with heart conditions. So your money does go to a good cause as well. Also, we have over almost 300 people in the chat on YouTube and on X. So do make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help us on the road to 5K. We are well over 4,700. I know it says 4,600 on this one. I need to ask Mark to do me a new graphic, but we'll get there. But yeah, like, subscribe, and keep your comments flowing. If you want to become a member as well, please click that $ or click the join button. And for $1.99 a month, you can become an official Villa Park Pod follower. And if you want any super chats to make sure your chat gets read out, then hit the $ and support the channel in any way that you can. So I want to go back to some good points. This is what in the old days, the old-fashioned people call a shit sandwich. You give some good news, you give some bad news, and you end with some good news. So a couple of other big performances, and I want to shout out. I don't know if we've got a picture of him, but we'll talk about him. Diego Carlos, because he had a little bit of a rough time of it. Probably the Wolves game, he made a mistake. I think it might have been the Ipswich game. He had a tough game against Liam Delap. Yeah, tough game against Liam Delap. But since then, Bayern Munich, Man United, and yesterday against Fulham, I thought he was excellent at the back, and he's now getting that range of passing right. Emi Martinez is utilising Pau Torres and Diego Carlos to pass out to, so that's given us a bit more variety. And I'm starting to see, a real consistency in Diego Carlos, which is really encouraging to see as well, Martin.
Yeah, I do apologise for not getting a picture of Diego Carlos. I tried to find the one that I had earlier and I just couldn't get it. So
it's all right.
I know I like to be on top of these pictures, but for some reason I've made a boo-boo. Sorry, folks. Yeah, with Carlos, like you said, he has shown a huge consistency. And I think we were all worried when he came on against Bayern Munich because of the 2 games prior to that. And he put in a fantastic performance by keeping Harry Kane quiet. That was kind of our talking point when we were doing our preview show for the Bayern Munich game, that I felt Carlos could hold Harry Kane, because when he comes up against a physical striker, he has no problem doing that. None. And then the game against Man United, when he came on, there was obviously that worry that, again, because even though he had one good game, but we all know the Carlos Ball, when he has one good game, the next game there might be a bit of tricky situations for him. But I felt he done really well. We weren't trouble too much. He was, like you said, his passing was on point. He was physical. There wasn't many mistakes. He kept everything simple. And of course, he was just using his strength to his own advantage, And then the game against Fulham, like you said, I thought he was fantastic. Against Raul Jimenez, who was probably one of the most, in terms physical, I know he doesn't have the physique of one, but he's not afraid to get nitty and gritty with defenders. And Carlos was just having none of it. So if you want to get nitty and gritty with me, let's go. This is the type of game Carlos loves to play. So I think that Carlos has really come leaps and bounds in these last few weeks. And he's probably warranted himself a starting place. Now, of course, we saw Ezra Konsa on the bench, but that's probably just, to look after that injury of his and just to rest him, because the options are there. But with Carlos performing well, I'm not saying Konsa doesn't start, but does that mean Konsa then goes to right back and fix that issue? But well, then again, the same point. I feel like Konsa's a better centre back.
Yeah, it gives us some really good options, and different games will warrant different players to play, because you saw he had a really good game against Bayern Munich, but then Konsa came back in for Man United, but obviously had to come off injured. So we'll see different games. Mings will be back fit, so does he come in for different games for Pau Torres? Obviously, we saw Pau Torres get pushed off the ball a little bit against Raul Jimenez, and then after that, you saw Carlos coming round to cover behind Pau Torres to help him with that physicality. So that was really good to see that partnership working. But yeah, it's really good to see. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out Carlos, because I think he's had 2 or 3 really good games. Sai says it's good to see with Diego. I was one of those wanting him gone, but I'm happy he's proven me wrong. So yeah, really, really good to see. Now, a lot of people in the chat are talking about this man here, our left back, Luca Dean. Now, right at the start of the season and within the first couple of games, people talk about, Ian Maatsen will come in. We need Ian Maatsen in. We need this, we need that. But Luca Dean has been absolutely fantastic this season, and consistently with his delivery, timing of his runs, his defending 1v1. He's
Yeah.
got himself back into the French squad. I mean, this guy seems to be getting better with age. Like his performances are maturing. He's becoming a bit more of a leader in the team as well, and that's just really good to see. And like you said right at the start, in terms of a player coming in and making the current player play better because he's got someone breathing down his neck. Luca Dean seems to be responding and saying, "You're not taking my shirt, Ian. There's no way you're taking my shirt," which is what you want from a squad.
Yeah, and then it puts Ian Matson in a bit of a pickle, of course, because Ian Matson was in the Champions League Team of the Year last season, performing out of his skin for Dortmund. So it's great to see that we've two quality left backs. But I'm going to revert back to a previous time when we assigned Alex Moreno. And of course, Luca Digne was starting for a while, and then when he got injured, Alex Moreno was the undisputed left back, and we all loved him, right? And Luca Digne wasn't getting in the team, like just wasn't getting anywhere near. He was constantly on the bench. Didn't matter how Paul Moreno might have been in some games, he wasn't getting it. But then when Moreno got injured, Digne took his chance, and he took it with two arms and said to Moreno, "Even when you come back from injury, this is not your spot anymore." And I think he kind of learned that when uh when Digne got injured, even though Moreno was performing out of his skin, Digne kind of accepted that fact that, right, I got injured, he's performing better, it's hard to drop him. There was an understanding, and he probably thought that his time will come. And now to the fact that Ian Matson's come in, he's kind of learned from that time, I'm going to make sure I'm staying fully fit. That would probably be the first thought that came to his mind because of what happened when Alex Moreno had when he signed. So at that fact that he was like, right, I need to make sure I'm staying fully fit. Then what I have to do is perform out of my skin week in, week out. Just because you were in the Champions League final last year and you were, the best left back in the Champions League because he was putting that team of the season, or he was playing out of his skin in the Bundesliga as well. And I do believe Ian Matson in time will be the number one left back. I really do, because he's still only 22 years of age, where Luca Digne
Yeah,
is
yeah.
into his 30s now. But I just think that at this time, like you said, because he's shown this maturity to his game, it's very hard to drop him. And I think that it's going to take an injury. Now, touch wood, that doesn't happen to him. But if it does, and then Ian Matson comes in and starts performing, Dean is back to where he was when Alex Moreno signed. So Dean is priority, in my opinion. Yes, his performances, but it's staying fit so he doesn't lose that spot.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of people in the chat saying similar to what you've just saying there. Kevin does say that Matson should start on Tuesday, maybe rest Digne. I don't know if that would happen. James said Matson is the future. His time will come. Gary said, I think once Matson gets in, he will stay there, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Leach says Digne wanted to stay for UEFA Champions League football, so he's really committed to us. He doesn't want to lose his place. Dicky said it's going to be a long season. Every player will need to rest at some point, so it's great we now have the strength and depth. The bench will come into play soon. Gary said Digne won't get a new contract on his wages anyway. And yeah, it's just interesting to see. Yeah, Matson will get his chance, and I'm sure he will. We're 8 games into the Premier League season. We've had 1 Carabao Cup game, and we've had 2 Champions League games. So look, we know that Matson will get used, and there was a similar situation with Yuri Tielemans last season. And this brings me nicely onto this player, because he had to bide his time last season with Douglas Luiz playing so well, and then towards the end of the season, Yuri Tielemans was the one that we were relying on. Now look what we've got with Yuri Tielemans, and I put a tweet out earlier saying I actually think he's the best midfielder in the Premier League at the moment on current form. I don't think there's anyone better. He can tackle. He plays everything in 1, 2 or 3 touches. He controls the game. He can score. He can play defense splitting passes. He can get about the pitch. He's a leader. He doesn't mind putting his foot in and giving fouls away. For me, he is an all-round midfielder at the moment, and I can't think of a better centre midfielder in the Premier League right now.
No, I can't either, and I'm in 100% agreement with you. And I've noticed as well, his game is elevated to a different level under Emery. With previous managers, yes, he was this creative centre midfielder in the Premier League. Of course he was. But this time now, his defensive side of the game has really stepped up. His creativity has gone up another level. And then another thing I've noticed as well is that when McGinn got injured, and obviously Martinez was the captain, Yuri Tielemans was nominated the outfield captain because that's within the rules. A referee has to talk to an outfield player in terms of decision if that captain is a goalkeeper. So Yuri Tielemans was the one nominated, not an Ezri Konsa who's been there years before him, or a Jacob Ramsey or an Ollie Watkins. No, it was Yuri Tielemans. So that just goes to show his leadership levels is there. And of course, he was the captain of Leicester at one point as well. So I think that if you have McGinn and Martinez out, of course, for whatever reason, like if they're being rested in games, like the Carabao Cups that are coming up, and we go to start Tielemans, Tielemans is going to be the one that's going to get that captain's armband, because he has shown to me this year, and you're right, he is the best centre midfielder in this league by a country mile, and I don't think there's anyone that's coming close to him on current form, of course. And I just like the fact that he doesn't sulk. If something doesn't go his way, he pulls his socks up, he gets his sleeves rolling, and just does that extra yard pass or just lifts the lads up, and it's great to see. And it's shown in games.
Yeah, absolutely. Sai said he's the player of the season right now by a distance, and that's with everybody playing well. He's still streaking away with it, and that's the thing. He's. I just love watching him play football. I just love his intelligence. He's always looking to play forward. And like I say, he does everything in 1, 2, or 3 touches. He can assist as well. Obviously, he can take set pieces. His corner to Watkins for the goal was one that was slightly different, but he's done that before. He's assisted. Look at the ball that he put in. What game was it now where it was a shorter corner and it came out to him and he just put it. Oh, it was the Wolves game to the back post for Ezri Konsa. That was just a phenomenal cross into the box. So he's just got such quality about his game. And yeah, I just think he's an absolute joy to watch at the moment. So I think it was Lee who said hopefully he doesn't get injured, because at the moment he is just absolutely vital for us. And we also saw him talking to Onana. Like, you talk about that leadership. He was talking to Onana yesterday about pulling him into position, making sure he was covering on that right hand side, making sure he knew he had time on the ball or knew he had a man on, and they was playing those short little passes between each other. That's just what he is at the moment. And PJJ said Yuri is like glue. He just links up and holds the team together. And yeah, he's just absolutely joy to watch at the moment. So long may it continue with Yuri Tielemans. And just in summary of the game yesterday, because it could have been a real banana skin in terms of the result, and Fulham do like to push forward, but so professional from Villa, obviously going behind but staying calm, getting a goal back within 3 or 4 minutes. And then, other than the sort of last 10 minutes, I know Fulham went down to 10 men, they did kind of put us under a little bit of pressure. It was a bit disjointed with all the substitutions that were made, but other than that, I just think we just knew we were going to beat them. I don't want to sound like too arrogant, but we just knew we were, if we got playing, if we got passing, because we had the physicality as well in our team, because we knew we had the quality and the clinical finishing, it was just a controlled performance.
Yeah, I was probably a little bit the opposite of you. I was worried about this one because Fulham have been playing so well, and their last 3
Yeah,
home games, they've obviously beaten Leicester, they bet Newcastle, they beat them 3-1, they got a good result against Nottingham Forest. So, like, I just think that going into that game, I kind of felt like a draw would have been a great result. Like, I know that they lost to Man City, but they still put in a great performance against Man City, and they
yeah,
only
they did.
narrowly lost that game.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like a draw in Craven Cottage would have been a great result for me because of the way that they're playing. But the fact that we got a win, and it was such a mature win too. But I kind of don't like this fact that we start playing when we go a goal down.
It
because
was
it just
sloppy. Yeah, it was
yeah,
sloppy.
it
Yeah.
was very sloppy, and of course we'll come to that in a bit. But I just feel like at this minute, when we go a goal down, we wake up,
Mm.
and we kind of have to realize that's not going to work every week. Like if it come to the day where
Yeah.
Sam's put me in a
Yeah,
space here.
happy with the draw.
Yeah,
Sam's in the chat.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Happy with the draw. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Sorry. I'll take off my mask. Uh, no, I just think like if like going a goal down, I'd rather be a goal up. I'd rather see us start off fast. So I just think that going a goal down at this current time, it's going to get to the point where if we go a goal down, we might not get a result. Of course, we've shown now in the last few weeks that going to go down, we're getting results, and that's great. But I just kind of want to be a goal up.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but it was one of those where it was a daft long ball, and you could see after it, Carlos was covering in the end, and that might have been just a lack of communication. Obviously, a lack of strength from Torres, but like I say, the strength we've got on the pitch, the professionalism that we've got, and the options off the bench that you've already talked about it just it just means that we can beat these teams. We can comfortably beat them as well, which is really good. Jacob said he thought Fulham yesterday were the masterminds of their own downfall, let the penalty miss get to them too much, and we fully capitalised on their drop off in morale. Yes, absolutely, that penalty miss, the save, from Martinez was a key point in the game. Sai agrees with you as well. We can't keep going behind; it will bite us soon. Dristos says, good evening all. Good to get the win, but if I'm honest, I was frustrated when we switched off after the 3-1. I get we have a game every few days, but we can't have that mentality of on and off, creates bad habits. I do think it was
Yeah,
more to do with the substitutions, and McGinn looked a bit rusty. Buendia, I thought, looked good for the last sort of 5-6 minutes, but took him a little bit of time to get into the game. Philogene obviously had a couple of nice touches, but couldn't get into it, and obviously he got sent off as well. So it was a little bit scrappy with the substitutions that I didn't think helped. Aaron said, if we beat Bournemouth and get 4 points from Tottenham and Liverpool, we are in for a title run. Gary said, no, Martin, if we have top four ideas, we can only lose to top four teams. Kevin said,
yeah.
if we are under the radar, it's frightening if we really click into gear. And all about the 3 points, says James. I will says, was it a great result or a decent result? And Lee says, a greasant result. I like that. I like that.
No pun
I
intended.
like that.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Just to finish up, last sort of 15 minutes, 10 minutes or so, because I think we might do a bit more of a preview for the Bologna game in the next
Yeah,
couple of days. Once the press conference is done, might do a bit of a pre-record, but we'll see. We'll see. But I do want to touch on it because it's coming thick and fast. The game's coming thick and fast, as we know already. But you talked about that squad, and before we know anything about what the team might be on Tuesday, it's going to be a tough one because we've had the high of Bayern Munich in the last home game in the Champions League. Now we have Bologna, who have been, played pretty well against Liverpool, actually caused them a few problems. They did lose 2-0. But is there a danger of it potentially being like a bit of a after the Lord Mayor's show, so to speak? You go from the highs of Bayern Munich and then the next game is Bologna. There's been maybe talk of like the tickets not selling out as quickly as the other one. So is there a potential for it to be a bit of a damp squib, shall we say?
yeah, they could do. I mean, I remember I was watching Bologna against Liverpool. Obviously, that was the same day as Villa and Bayern Munich because I was in my local pub with my mate, Craig. He's a Liverpool fan, and Bologna really gave it to Liverpool. Like did they put in a really good performance? And I just think that with Bologna, it kind of seems like they're a great team, but they kind of don't take their chances in this Champions League anyway. But I just think that it's with the stuff that they have going on at this minute. Bologna, I think they're doing well in the league. I think they are actually no, sorry, forgive me. They're sitting 13th in Serie A,
Mm.
so they are, which is probably not good for them because I knew they did lose good bit of their players, and of course they lost their manager as well. And I'm just getting up they lost 2-0 to Liverpool, but Liverpool were quite nervy in that game, I felt, because Bologna really stepped it up to them and they put in a good performance. And I felt that that loss for Bologna wasn't justified in that sort of way. But the big teams, when you have someone coming up and they don't take their chances, they're going to get punished. That's the old cliche in football. But I do agree with what you're saying, that after beating Bayern Munich, and it kind of happened in the Man United game, that hangover of beating such a big team. And we went into that Man United game, not at the fact that we're going to beat Man United or anything like it. It was just kind of that little bit of sloppiness and whatever, and because, you've had that game a few days prior. With this game against Bologna, Villa are obviously in a high at this minute in the Champions League. Back-to-back clean sheets, 4 goals scored. We're sitting in the top 4 of the Champions League. I feel like this game against Bologna, we have to be very careful with it, because you don't want to fall into this trap of, we just beat Bayern Munich, we should be beating Bologna, and then Bologna go and punish us, because that's what this new format is going to do. Basically, one team could beat a big team, and then the next week they beat someone that's of equal level or not as good as them. That is going to happen in this Champions League. Anybody can do anything. Like, look at Brest at this minute. They're sitting near the top as well.
We're that team as well. We're that team.
Exactly. Yeah. We're that team. Look at Lille. They bet Real Madrid, and they lost to somebody, I think, prior to that, who wasn't as good as Real Madrid, of course. But that's what this competition is going to do. So we need to go into this game of a mindset, even though, yes, we've beaten Bayern Munich, but let that be in the past. Let this now say, right, Bologna, you're on our way now of 3 points. We're still going to get those 3 points. Not have an arrogant mindset, but have a confidence mindset of a fact that let's go into this game that we know we can get 3 points from this. We know that even if it's a draw, it's not going to be a bad result either. So we have to be up for this.
Yeah, of course. Gary said Bologna drew 2-2, I think, but still struggling. Bear in the Garden still thinks the quadruple is possible. And Deontay says Italian teams are generally hard to play against. Thinks Bologna will try and play for a draw on Tuesday. They love draws in Serie A. Dristos says Bologna have not been good in the league, but they played really good in the 2 Champions League matches, even if they only got 1 point. So he potentially thinks it's going to be a tough game. Sai said he watched the game against Shakhtar, though. They were awful. And Gary said we played the best team in Bayern, so everyone else is fair game. Sam, what brings you to the party? Hello, mate. How are you doing?
I was watching it. I thought, you know what? I might as well jump on for 5 minutes to say hello. Because it was, I don't want to say negative, because it definitely wasn't negative. But I can't imagine this. Hello. I can't imagine this Villa side still not being pumped for a Champions League game. Like, it doesn't compete with me. Like,
yeah, no, I get you.
The hype is still like Champions League nights, and you know, it's only the second one at home, and you go off that, and we're near top of the league as well, and they'll all know that. I can't imagine the players not being hyped for it, even if the fans are maybe not. We talk about tickets and whatever. I can't imagine it. I just can't imagine.
No, I absolutely do get you. You know,
just to bring up your point on tickets there, Sam. Sorry, Rich. This game against Bologna, it didn't sell out, and it went to the general sale. Like, obviously, the game against Bayern Munich, it sold out very quickly. It was Bayern Munich, of course, it's going to sell out. But with this hype around this whole ticketing from Chris Heck and everything else, this game went to a general sale. Like, that to me kind of says that fans are not boycotting this game. But it kind of says that a fan is not willing to pay £97 or £80, whatever it might be, for, if you're a season ticket holder, of course, to go and watch a game against Bologna. Yes, it's a Champions League night, I get it. But do you think that because the prices are the way they are, people would have had no problem paying the money to go see Bayern Munich? But is there this like negativity towards this game on the fan base wise because of the prices of the tickets, and it's the same price.
I think it's only to do with prices. Like, look, people are going to be of the mindset of, well, I can only afford to go to so many games, right? So if you want to do a couple of away, you want to do a couple at home, you want to do something like that. People, I think it won't even be a case of anything other than I can't really afford to go to all 4 games, but I could probably do 2 or 3. So if I'm gonna try and get tickets, especially if you're a season ticket holder and stuff like that, then you'll just say, well, I'll take that ticket and I won't go to the other ones because I can't afford it. That being said, Rich, I'm going to do something I've never done on this channel. I'm going to do my very own giveaway. So seeming as though we're speaking of ticket prices, and there are some people who can't go to Champions League games because of the ticket prices. So what I'm going to do is for anyone who, whether you follow the podcast or not already, and you start following us or whatever, whoever drops me a DM on Twitter, there's my Twitter is right there. If you want to go to the game, but you can't afford it, let me know and I'll give you my ticket. You don't have to pay anything for it. And it will be nice for someone who can't afford to go to a Champions League game to go to one. And that'll be on the Villa Park pod. Sat in the lower Holt, great view. It was a good crack against Bayern Munich. So it will be good to, it's only one though. But if you do want to go, just drop me a message and first person to message me is all yours.
Fair play, Sam. There you go. Get into Sam's DMs. You doing the first person, are you?
Yeah, first person who messages me, get the ticket, absolutely free. Go sit in the hole and watch Villa in the Champions League. Why not?
Right, what's your logo there?
Not you. Your dad's going to message me.
Yeah, my dad's probably going to get it. Yeah.
Just a quick one, and absolutely look, you're getting some absolute love in the chat, Sam. So that is an absolute legendary thing to do, mate. So you're absolutely top man there, mate. And just in terms of the game, like I said, we'll probably do a bit more of a preview on it once we get Emery's press conference. But just for your perspective, Sam, Martin's mentioned the quality of the squad, the quality of the bench. We were obviously talking about it in the WhatsApp group yesterday. Do you see any of that squad getting utilised to the Champions League game, with obviously Bournemouth at home coming on Saturday as well?
Yeah, I mean, what a squad it was on Saturday against who did we play? I forgot. Fulham. I had a couple of beers, sorry. It was a really, really good squad. What I imagine will happen is you'll see pretty much more of the same in terms of starting lineup. But as Emery likes to do this season, you'll see a switch up at 60 minutes, 45, something like that. You may see someone else come in from. You might see someone else come in a couple of changes, maybe a McGinn in for a Bailey or a Jaden, seeming as though he's do the journey, man. Be welcome. Maybe like a Jaden in for a Bailey because he can't play in the Premier League because he's got that red card, so he won't be available for Bournemouth. Maybe starting, but I mean, I think Emery's a kind of manager who's always going to go with his best team. I think that's what he's going to do. I can't imagine wholesale changes. Maybe Maatsen in for Digne. He's played a lot of football this season already. Try and keep him. Although he was brilliant against Fulham, wasn't he? He was really he got a big round of applause. I don't know. Maybe you'll find Ollie done well again. I thought he complimented me there for a second. I was about to say thank you. Ollie's. I've been giving Ollie a lot of praise this season, have I not?
You have. On this
when he wasn't scoring, I did say he's going to come good and he's going to do his thing. I imagine it'd be more the same from Emery and from Villa. And I think beating Bologna is like, I think if we beat Bologna and we've got 9 points from our first 3 games, I think Emery will let the squad know this is a serious chance to qualify, not just qualify, but get out without finishing that top 9, right? Don't have to play in that little playoff game or anything like that. Let's just go straight into the round of 16. And it's curious actually, because you obviously get matches for you get money for winning the Champions League games, and each game you win, you get a certain amount. If you go,
I think. If
you go straight through to the round of 16 without having to play that playoff game, do you get that 2 million? Because you don't obviously have a chance to play in it or win a game.
I think you get more money for coming in that top 8. I think the prize money for coming in that top 8 and getting to the last 16 is more than playing those 2 playoff games.
Yeah.
Otherwise there wouldn't be.
There wouldn't be an incentive to do it. Maybe that's what Real Madrid are playing at. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, they're all there.
Yeah, but is that 1 to 8 are getting all that money the same, or is it say whoever finishes top gets this or second gets that, third get that stagger type of thing where you see in the Premier League, or is it just going to be like the whole 1 to 8 are just going to get the one money?
I'd imagine that the top 8 would get the same. I'd imagine so, but we'll see. People, you probably need to follow people on Twitter that are trying to get you, Sam. So just follow people back who are following you.
I will do. Sorry, boys. I don't do this very often. If you follow me, and I'll follow you back, and then you should be able to message me. I think my profile is private for. Well, it was for work reasons. I lost a pretty good job being on this pod.
You did.
Whose fault is that?
That was me with my dream job. Couldn't do it because I was on the Villa Park podcast, and now I'm broken poor. Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
Has my dad given you a message yet? Has my dad messaged you yet?
Do you know who I think Conte will come back in though? And do you know what I'll say about Carlos? We will talk about Pau Torres and his ball playing prowess. Has anyone been noticing these little diagonals that Diego Carlos has been playing?
Mentioned it before. We gave him a big shout out. He's done really well these last 3 games. Seems to be getting better and better, more confident, more comfortable in the position, more concentrated. So yeah, I mean he's again done very, very well. But like you say, it could be Conte comes back in. I don't know. Maybe he goes to right back instead of Matty Cash and keep Carlos in, and maybe Carlos drops out for a game. We'll see. But we've certainly got that strength in depth, Martin, haven't we? And
I'll play Austin McPhee right back instead of Matty Cash.
I don't want to bring any more into it. Let's keep it positive.
No,
another target on Sam.
I did see you glaze over my comment where I said Matty Cash was playing volleyball.
I did.
No, he's all right, Matty. At least he's got a nice smile, eh?
Yeah, but Martin, like you look at, I keep saying it. John McGinn on the bench, Emi Buendia, John Duran, Boubacar Kamara, Ezri Konsa. I mean, does Boubacar Kamara get a little shout on Tuesday night potentially?
Probably not. No, I think that game is going to be way too soon for him. I think he's at a stage now, just being on the bench, being involved, and doing the warm-ups, just taking a handy. I think the Crystal Palace game is going to be a game Boubacar Kamara starts, in my opinion, that he gets 10 minutes under his tank. I think the Champions League game is too soon for him. Then the game against Bournemouth, I think he'll probably get 15 to 20 minutes to get him back up to scratch. And then I think he'll probably start the Crystal Palace game as a way to get him back up to speed. Like for a lot of players, because I think we're going to have a really good starting 11 for that game, even though it's going to be a makeshift starting 11. Like if we put this starting 11 into perspective, Joe Gauchi in goals, you could have Matty Cash right back, you could have Carlos Mings in centre back, you've got Ian Matson left back, 2 in front of them could be McGinn and Kamara. You'll probably have Buendia in the 10, you'll probably have Philogene on the left, you'll probably keep Bailey there in the right, and then you start John Duran up top. Like that's an unbelievable team for a Carabao Cup game. You know what I mean? So I just think that, like you said, I think Kamara is probably going to be too soon. But I'm seeing a comment here with David Finn. He only just put it in that he heard that Kamara isn't registered for the Champions League, but he's not sure on that. I say he is.
I don't know. We'd have to check. Yeah,
I'll ask you both the question actually, and this will be an intro. We don't do a lot of analysis. That's normally Gaz's remit. But what do you reckon is most important against Bologna in terms of like obviously against Bayern Munich, it was make sure we were solid defensively, challenge sort of man to man. Different strokes for different folks, different plans for different games. What do you reckon is going to be the key to Bologna? Do you reckon, obviously, Italian football going to sit back? Do you think it's creativity that you need? Do you think we need to still remain solid? Will that invite John McGinn back on? Like, what do you reckon it is?
Well, you watched them against Liverpool, Martin. I only saw the highlights, but were they quite attacking, or were they kind of sat? Did they sit back and then catch Liverpool on the break? How did they approach the game?
For the first 10-15 minutes, Bologna were actually catching them on the counter, but they actually grew into the game and started to control possession quite a bit and were causing Liverpool a lot of problems, making great runs in behind, but they just weren't taking their chances, which was, in the end, what punished them. But in that sense, then I think for Villa, we kind of need to be wary in the first 15, 20 minutes of them catching us on the counter and making sure that they don't grow into the game. So it's making sure that we need to be dominant from the start of the game.
I always think with Italian teams, they'll be very disciplined in terms of, I guess, shutting down spaces. So I would like us to move the ball when, obviously we know we're going to play the ball across the back and all that kind of stuff. But when we do go into midfield and move it through midfield, I think we need to move it quickly because they'll pack that midfield area quite tightly. And then I just think you have to be really disciplined and just be careful with regards to fouls, with regards to, the stoppages and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd expect us to play our normal game, but I want us to make sure that we move the ball quickly when we have that opportunity to, because they'll love nothing better than for us to kind of end up throwing the ball into the box or, be slow around the box in terms of that passing and that possession style, because that's how Italian teams love to play. They love to have those teams kind of playing in front of them and not playing those incisive passes. So that would be for me to move the ball quickly. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't seen much of Bologna ever. I'm not a team that I follow.
No, me. I'm just going generally about Italian teams, to be fair.
Yeah, Italian teams are generally... there was... I think as Zlatan was doing an interview recently, and he was talking about the difference between the Premier League and Italian football, and he basically said Serie A, the Italian league, is all about defence. Like, it's so much more important to be defensively sound than it is in the Prem, and the Prem is just all pace. And if you can't keep up with that pace, you won't make it in the Premier League. So I think for us, we just need to keep that intensity, and we need to keep them moving. Like I think Martin said already, is not letting them settle into the game too much, and just we are very to and fro as a side. I've noticed this recently. Like we've always, I think last season we were a lot better at that kind of slow build up, and we used to do loads more passes. But now I think the introduction of Morgan Rogers gives us a different outlet. Like we said last season, like what Jacob Ramsey does is he drives forward, and he's like that running back who gets you yards on the pitch. But now we've got two of them, and Morgan Rogers does it spectacularly well. So I think just trying that, like breaking forward, making them go back and forth, turn it into a bit of not a basketball game, but if we're going to play that game, make them run around and don't let them be too comfortable on the ball, press high. I think quality-wise, and this is something that the team needs to believe, and I think we need to understand as fans, is we have a ridiculous amount of quality in this team. Some superb players. Ollie Watkins included for anyone else who's giving it lemon. But I think,
Sam, I'm not too sure if you saw, but like this is what our bench looks like now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Got R9. I was thinking about this actually, and I don't know what you boys think, but I was having a conversation with someone previously about who the best players of all time are, and I would say like five of the top 10 or 6 or 7 never played in the Premier League. You talk about R9 and Pele and Maradona and Messi and Ronaldinho and all these players. They've never played in our league. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a testament to people not wanting to come and tarnish their names in our league, or if it's just that the other ones are better. But I think it's just exciting. Like we've said at the start of the season, now that we've got a couple of wins under our belt, we're at the top. We kind of may fall into this trap of expectation. I think we need to be a bit wary of that and just enjoy it. This is probably, of all the home games that we had lined up, this was the one where you have most faith in getting something out of the game, right? Because you've got Juventus, very difficult, Bayern, very difficult, Celtic, obviously, I'd still say we're a better team, but, they kind of used to that big occasion more than we are, and their fans will be. I can't wait to see the Celtic fans at Villa Park. No one's getting my ticket for that, but that is... I'm
a bit conflicted with that one.
Yeah, well, you a Celtic fan? Is that?
Well, no,
you've got about 7 teams, Martin, so you might as well commit to it.
Yeah, you might as well.
No. I'm not a Celtic fan. I don't really watch the Scottish League. But if someone told me who am I supporting, I wouldn't even say Celtic. I just still turn around and say I'm not watching the Scottish League. But because Celtic are generally seen as an Irish team, really, with the strong Irish background, I'm a little bit conflicted because I want Villa to win, but at the same time, Celtic is an Irish background, so I'm kind of like, oh shit. But I'm still going to support Villa.
Well, I've got a new theory. Whenever anyone gets into the box against Villa, just before they're about to shoot, just give away the penalty and let Emi wipe it out from there, because he's so good at the minute. Absolutely the best in the world. Just take him down. Don't get red. See what happens.
Exactly. I'll back him every time. Just before we finish up, I will get quick predictions. Obviously, before we know the likelihood of the squads and all that kind of stuff. So get your early predictions in the chat as well, everyone. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. We have over 300 people watching on a Sunday night on X and on YouTube, which is just amazing stuff. So thank you everyone for watching. Like I say, get your score predictions in for Tuesday night's game against Bologna. Martin, I will come to you first. What are you saying for Tuesday in terms of early prediction?
I'm going to go with 3-0. I think we'll keep another clean sheet in the Champions League. Oh, I would say Morgan Rogers will get one, Watkins will get one. And I think Ramsey will get another. I think the front three will all get a goal each.
I like it. And Sai says 2-0 to Villa. Deontay says Aston Villa 2, Bologna 1. Rachel says she agrees with Sai, 2-0. Evan says 2-0 Villa. Stuart says 2-0 Villa, so that's a very popular score at the moment. Dickie is saying 3-0 and a Watkins hat-trick. Lee says Tuesday Emery will go strong, 2-0. Gary is saying 3-1 to the Villa. That is 3-1. Kevin says 2-1 Villa. Adamski says 3-1 Villa as well. Someone was talking about, David was talking about Kamara being in the Champions League squad or not. And also says there's no clear answer. We'll find out soon for sure. So I think a few people have been looking at various sites. Rachel had a quick Google and his name was on some websites but not on the UEFA website. So that will be cleared up, I'm sure, very soon. Adamski thinks a Duran Worldie is incoming very soon. Sam, what are you saying for an early prediction for Tuesday night?
My prediction is take me off this show and bring Adamski on, because I was going to say 3-1. And I was also going to say, watch that Duran Worldie come in at the end of the 75th minute. I reckon 3-1. I reckon Tielemans is due a goal, you know. I reckon Tielemans will get one. I'm going to go Tielemans, Konsa, and Duran as the scorers. I do think we'll concede, because we had quite a few chances we could have conceded against Young Boys and against Bayern as well. It was some nervous times. I still think 3-1 would be a brilliant result. Take us very, very close to the top of the table, if not right at the top. So, yeah, I'm very excited. Very, very excited.
Yeah, I'll say the same. I think I'm going to say 3-1. I'm going to say a Watkins brace. And I'm going to say Yuri Tielemans as well to keep his... He's scored in the Champions League already this season. Sai has said a couple of times, remember that the under-21s game is earlier on in the day against Bologna, and it is on UEFA TV for free to air, and the kickoff is 1 p.m. So anyone on their lunch break or want to take an extended lunch break or anything like that, not saying that I will be doing that, but Tuesday afternoon.
Not saying that I'll be doing that.
Anyone working from home? Or...
It's called multitasking, mate. You're absolutely fine.
Yeah, exactly. 1 p.m. on UEFA TV, kickoff for the under-21s against Bologna. Boys, absolute pleasure. Thank you for jumping on, Sam. Thank you so much for your offer of a ticket. Make sure you
do message Sam. Me if you want it, because I haven't had anyone message me yet. So if you do want it, just message me on Twitter.
SamWise1071 on X. Make sure you follow him. He'll follow you back, and then drop him a DM. First one to do it who wants the ticket, who can get to the game, etc. Then please do message Sam. Follow Martin at Marto Leonardo. Follow me at South Rich or at Villa Park Pod. And make sure you hit that like button on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us. Help us on the road to 5k. Like I say, once the press conference is done or close to the game, we'll do a little pre-record for our full Bologna preview. We'll also be back with instant match reaction, hopefully for another 3 points in the Champions League. Got talking tactics with Gareth as well to come, reflecting on the Fulham game, all the analysis on that game, and also preview for Bournemouth, all that jazz. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.